Hello again, everybody, and welcome to another edition of Coco and Daltz. I'm not Coco.
And I'm not Daltz.
So we had to do it right at the beginning this time because we forgot to do it last time until like the middle.
Yeah, and that was in case you missed it, which, judging by our download numbers, you have, our hot take on the royal baby names. So if you did not check that out, please go to iTunes or wherever you get your podcasts and download and listen and tell us what you think of Thor Your Majesty as a name that Harry and Meg should have chosen for royal baby Sussex instead of Archie Harrison.
So speaking of Thor...
That's why I chose that one.
Look at you.
I know.
Looking at the research notes and everything like that.
I was going to say we didn't even rehearse this, but now you kind of blew it by saying that we have research notes.
Well, the engineer in the booth just fell out of his chair because he couldn't believe that we're actually going along with some of the notes.
Following along with the show game plan.
The hours and hours that we have of rehearsals and table reads and blocking. Because there's a lot of blocking going on with a podcast.
We should put our outtakes on YouTube.
We should. We should put something on YouTube.
We should, but we can't figure out how to do it.
So this edition is about Avengers Endgame. We went to see this movie today on a rainy day here in the Northeast where we are based.
We were going to see it the Monday after it was released, but then something came up and we ended up not seeing it. And so this is why... It's now been 3 weeks since it's been released, and we're finally getting around to seeing it.
So it's the biggest movie of all time ever in the history of the galaxy.
Yeah.
Is it? I don't know.
I don't know. I know that
Usually
it was on track to surpass Avatar, but I don't know if it actually has. Maybe I will look that up while you give our listeners,
yammer on?
Yeah, a little taste of the plot.
So a taste of the plot, here's the thing. In the last one, which was called Avengers Infinity War, was that it?
Look at you.
Read
the notes.
Oh, yeah, reading the notes, research notes. And what happened in the Infinity War is Thanos... came along, and he's a bad guy. He's Josh Brolin, but he's in like a chin that's got some grill marks on it. And
he's got a scrotal chin.
Or grill marks.
Yeah.
And
sorry that I threw you off with like the scrotum reference.
The scrotum always throws me off. So he's a bad guy. He wants to take over the universe, and he wants to kill half of all living creatures in the universe. Not to spoil Infinity War for you, but that's what he does. And so that includes half of the Avengers, or Adam, I'm not sure about the half part because I didn't really do the math on it, but let's just say some key characters are blown into the wind at the end of Infinity War. So we pick it up with Avengers Endgame, which is just sort of another version of Infinity War. So Thanos, through various plot developments, comes back, and they fight him again, and it's essentially the same movie as it was before.
Yeah.
That's my plot synopsis.
Yeah.
Would you agree with that, Coco?
Yeah, I would. It's basically a two-part
It's
Avengers
the same movie.
Yeah, it's the same movie.
And it's also 3 hours long.
But I will say it did not feel 3 hours long. Possibly because, as you said, we knew going in that it was that long. So it was anticipated. But a lot of movies that are that long do not need to be that long.
Right.
As I have mentioned before, I saw Titanic in the theater, which everybody who was alive in 1998 saw Titanic in the theater. And my ass fell asleep at the 2-hour mark, and the boat hadn't even hit the damn iceberg yet.
Well, see, that's what happens when you bring a mule into the theater.
I can add the sound effect of that. Actually, I don't think I can because I don't think GarageBand has a lot of good sound effects, actually. So.
No. So I didn't think it felt like 3 hours because I fell asleep for about half an hour at the 2-hour mark. So it felt like a 2.5-hour movie.
So that's why you didn't check your phone.
I wasn't checking my phone because I was asleep. I was nodding off.
So Daltz does not like comic book movies. For
As
those
you might
of
have
you
gathered,
who haven't listened to the podcast ever, might not have realized by now.
So I liked this one in the spirit that I liked the other ones, in that it was good for what it was, but it was, like I said off the top, it felt like the same movie to me. Mm-hmm. It felt like the same. It felt like Avengers Infinity War. And now, correct me if I'm wrong, Coco, you know a lot about these kinds of things, but did they not film these two movies at the same time?
I believe they did. I believe they filmed
like an extended shoot so they could get the whole cast on there.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah, so it sort of feels like a little bit of that. And also in this movie, they used some scenes from the previous movie, which felt like cheating to me.
And they did use scenes from previous movies as well. Like they used a scene from the original Avengers movie.
Right. And they also used a scene from The Sting. I don't know how they worked that into the plot, but it was very well done.
Which scene was that?
Oh, that might have been when I was asleep.
Oh, okay. Yeah,
when I was dreaming. Because, it was Robert Redford was in it.
Oh, that's
That's what it was.
Yeah.
And somebody that we used to work with was his bodyguard.
Who
shall remain nameless.
We will
not give him the glory.
But we both agree that he is a smarmy douche. So there you go.
That's spelled D-U-D-E, by the way.
Speaking of smarmy douches, I'm really glad that Chris Pratt did not have a whole lot of screen time.
Yeah, he wasn't in this a lot.
Yeah, I don't especially like him as a person or the Star-Lord character. Star-Lord being a selfish brat is why Thanos was able to do the snap originally at the end of Infinity War. So, yeah, I was really glad not to... Chris Pratt still gets some of my money, but...
Yeah. So explain to me some of the plot developments here and elements that I wasn't quite getting.
Well, see, some of it I don't remember a whole lot of because I tend to watch these movies like once and then not watch them again.
No, I mean the one we just watched.
Oh, okay. All right. So
the movie we were just in.
Well, I know, but I was like, ooh, if we have to go back to some of the scenes from like Captain America, the Winter Soldier, like I don't really know if I'm going to be able to remember some of that.
I think you do pretty well there because your memory's very good for that kind of stuff. So I would say, there's some confusion here because, who is Don Cheadle?
So he's
Black Iron Man?
He was Terrence Howard in the first Iron Man movie.
But he's got his own suit now.
Yeah, he's, I can't remember.
Does he have a name, though? Like he's a character? Or are you just showing up
as why are you putting me on the spot? Because now I can't remember it. Now
no, I just thought maybe you'd know. See, the fact that you don't know says a lot as well because the movie what didn't make that clear is like all of a sudden Don Cheadle's in this a lot. Like he wasn't really in the other ones a lot, was he?
No, so Terrence Howard was this character in the first Iron Man movie, and then Terrence Howard got fired, and they just did the soap opera thing where they just replaced him with another
Terrence
actor.
Howard was the actor.
Yes.
Playing
the character.
Rhodey, I think it is. Having been an Iron Man fan from way back in the comic book days, I think it was Rhodey. He was like TC to Magnum.
Which I was like 5 years old when that came out, so okay. I don't remember.
So while you're looking that up, there's also Gwyneth Paltrow.
War Machine. There we go. War Machine.
Gwyneth Paltrow all of a sudden has an Iron Man suit. Yeah. Or makes her an Iron Woman or Iron Maiden. I don't know.
Iron Maiden. Okay, we're totally fist bumping.
Iron Maiden.
You can't see.
I was thinking about that line as I was watching her. I was like, so she's suddenly now in this?
I don't know that either. Why are you asking? Can we cut this part out? Because
no,
I don't know.
No, I want your opinion on
to these
it. I want your opinion. It's like
I
all these.
I didn't question it. It's a superhero movie. I don't care. Just go with it. I don't care.
But I care. I'm like, where's the logic in this? All of a sudden, Gwyneth Paltrow is looking really mad, and I thought she was back at home looking after Junior Squish or whatever her name was, the little kid that.
I think that was Jon Favreau who was doing that. Like Jon Favreau
because he's too big to be a superhero.
Yeah.
See, now that's not right.
But if Thor can be a superhero and he's spent like the past 5 years eating pizza,
we need to talk about the Thor development, which was my favorite part of this whole movie. Thor, who is god of lightning, and what is he god of? He's god of all.
Thunder. Yeah,
god of thunder.
Oh my God, he's.
I think I've been god of thunder more than once. Especially after a bean burrito or something like that. But anyways. So
yeah, he was really cut in, the first Thor movie. I mean, holy crap.
So of course they come up. Sorry, I'm interrupting you because I'm so excited by this idea. So they come 5 years later. 5 years go past.
5 years after the snap, and now it's kind of like a catching up with where are they all now.
Right.
And Thor has kind of abdicated his royal responsibilities.
He's abdicated life in general.
Yeah,
he's playing video games with his ne'er-do-well thing-looking brothers. I don't know who those guys were.
Yeah, so he's playing video games and eating pizza and just boozing it up in New Asgard. And Valkyrie says he descends once a month to get more booze. And now suddenly he looks...
like Lebowski.
Yeah, like
so there's
Lebowski,
a Lebowski line in the movie, which I thought was brilliant. Because as he was walking across the screen, I was thinking, okay, I'm going to refer to this in the podcast as the dude. And that's
And then
they
Iron
called
Man
him,
was just like, "Hey, Lebowski," and
like
it was-
stuff at Lebowski or something like that. So it was great. I mean, so and then this is why I really liked Iron Man in the beginning, the comic books, is because Tony Stark was battling human challenges. So he was an alcoholic in the comic books.
Okay.
And so he was battling the demons. He was battling the inner demons. He was battling the outer demon, the obvious supervillain guys, but also inside he needed a drink. So this is why I liked Iron Man, because he was human. So now seeing Thor, who to me is like beyond reproach in terms of a comic book character. He's mythical. He's of the gods and all that sort of stuff. He's the god of thunder and
he's
lightning
physical
and
perfection.
very, very frightening, Galileo. And now all of a sudden he's Lebowski, and he sort of was dressed like Lebowski.
Yeah, he totally was.
He was kind of like a Bob Marley, like a Rasta Lebowski with the dreads and everything like that.
All he needed was like the White Russian,
right,
and a bowling ball,
and he would have been perfect. So I really liked his character. He actually helped me get through this movie, and as did Paul Rudd, because Paul Rudd's Ant-Man was the wisecracker, and I'm glad that we
saw Ant-Man and the Wasp.
Ant-Man and the Wasp like last week. We watched that.
We Netflixed it.
We Netflixed it, and that I also sort of was falling asleep on your shoulder throughout that movie, but I got the basic gist of it.
See, speaking of the comic relief, this is actually something that I was thinking of during the movie, was Marvel is so good at comic relief. Like, every time they say a joke, I actually laugh because it's funny, as opposed to
forcing it.
The Last Jedi, which had that one scene at the very beginning when Oscar Isaac is like holding for Admiral Akbar or whatever, for like 5 minutes he's like still holding, still waiting, and the British guy is sputtering like, bah, 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 bah,
And we were like, is this supposed to be funny? Are we watching the outtakes?
Yeah, and we were like, this really isn't funny. So I was thinking about like just how superior the Marvel films have been to the Disney-owned Star Wars franchise, which just has been very hit or miss.
Sputtering,
but but Marvel, like it has. I don't know if like all the good Marvel writers all the good Disney writers go to Marvel or what, but like the script was just on point.
It was good. It was good for what it was. Like I'm being critical of it, but it was very well done. As we were watching,
it's not How Green Was My Valley, but
and thank the Lord for that. But I think that as I was watching this cataclysmic everything come together in the final scenes and the climax and all that sort of stuff, I was like, I'm not a big superhero movie kind of guy, but they are done well. The Marvel movies are done well. And I think if you were to look at this movie in a different, like you were to throw somebody into this movie and having never watched any one of these movies before, and you say to them, hey, here you go, they would probably come out of this thinking it's a comedy. Because it's got a lot of laughs in it, right? Like if you didn't know anything about the genre and you had, like I said, you hadn't seen all the prequels and all that sort of stuff.
Yeah, like that guy who wrote the review for Infinity War last year who complained about there was no exposition and they just expected us to know what's going on. It's like, well, because there's been 10 years and 20 movies leading up to this point.
Well, and it's a superhero movie. I mean, how much explaining is needed here?
Exactly. That's why when Gwyneth Paltrow shows up in the blue Iron Lady suit, I'm like, okay, cool.
Well,
let's go with it. I don't know if that has appeared in any movies before.
Right.
Not,
this was out of the blue to me. It's like, oh, wait a minute, Gwyneth Paltrow? Like, what's Goop got to say about this? Like, I mean, is there a rider in her contract?
I wonder if like her blue suit is like steaming her vag while at the same. That's like literally.
We're gonna have to take that out.
No, we're not. Like that's literally something she recommended on like Goop was like steaming the vag with like jade eggs or something. So
moving on. So speaking of that, actually, speaking of sensitive topics, I noticed in this one as well there was more swearing.
Yeah,
in the
I really
movie.
Did notice that,
I thought in the previous movies there was no swearing at all, or I don't remember any kind of. And in this one, there was a couple of BSs thrown around, and there was no major stuff.
Yeah, no F-bombs dropped.
No F-bombs dropped, but there were a couple of. What would hand grenade? Would that be? I don't even know if there's a
synonym for crap.
Yeah. Well, S is a hand grenade. F is a bomb. S. See what I'm saying? Like I don't think S is as big a deal as a bomb.
Oh, okay.
That's where I was going with that.
Yeah. No. It did. Yeah, there was a lot more. I was kind of surprised.
So they're pushing the envelope.
They are. Well, I mean,
those Marvelites.
Yeah, and another comparison to the Star Wars is their CGI, like in terms of de-aging people.
Oh yeah,
I thought was really good. Like I noticed this in Ant-Man and the Wasp too. Like their Michael Douglas
Yeah.
looked like Michael Douglas actually did in the 80s.
Right.
As opposed to looking really freaking creepy like, Princess Leia did at the end of Rogue One or whatever.
Yeah.
Like, I don't, and I'm
Poor Star Wars.
I'm assuming that Industrial Light and Magic does all the CGI, so I don't...
Well, we were there through the credits. We probably...
Industrial Light and Magic did do the CGI for this.
Oh, they did? Okay.
Yeah, so I'm assuming it does for Star
I was
Wars
checking
as
my
well.
email, I think, during the credits.
No, you actually waited. I told you I was very proud of you. I'm like, it took you until the very end. And can I say, we did not get the reel that has the Spider-Man trailer for it.
That's why we stuck around.
That's why we stayed, and because I heard that the new reels were going out with Spider-Man trailers, and ours did not have one. So,
and I think it's also worth mentioning is that we are 3 weeks off the release of the movie, and the theater was packed.
Yeah, it was. I mean, there were available seats,
right?
But it's not like and it's Mother's Day too,
and a rainy Mother's Day,
And
so when I say packed, what I mean is. There was a gap between people sitting. So like parties that were together had one seat separating them.
Yeah.
From the next party.
Yeah, there were more people. So apparently going to see Marvel movies is a Mother's Day tradition for me because I also saw Captain America Civil War on Mother's Day.
Oh, really?
And that theater was not remotely packed, even though that was opening weekend. So this theater having more people in it, and it's been out for 3 weeks, like that's a good sign.
So what did you think? I haven't really gotten your overall thoughts of the movie. What did you think overall?
I friggin' loved it.
Did you really?
I friggin' loved it. I thought it was amazing. It definitely did not feel like a 3-hour long movie. It held me throughout. Like, it got maybe a wee bit draggy when, like, Natasha went to Tokyo to find Clint. But I'm like, but how can they cut that? Because you need the backstory of what the surviving Avengers have done in the past 5 years since the snap. And they only spent 5 minutes on it. It's not like in Here We Go Dog in Star Wars again, but it's not like in The Last Jedi when they have that weird trip to the casino planet and everything sucks. And it's like, oh my God, they totally could have cut this like complete
It was like just let's revisit the cantina for the sake of cantina.
Exactly. So it maybe dragged a wee bit in that part, but like I said, how are you going to cut that? Because you need to know what they're doing. So
my criticism is not of it dragging. I didn't think it dragged really. I don't think there was any boggy moments. It's just like when we went to see Captain Marvel.
Yeah.
Like I that was an origin story to a certain extent, and so it could have gotten really boggy. But
I wish there had been more Captain Marvel.
She was sort of in it and out of it.
Yeah, she was in it in the very beginning, and then at the end she showed up again with her Hillary Clinton haircut to
just
like
to save
try
the
to
day,
save the
essentially.
day, and and she left. And
which I thought was odd, that one part near the end of the movie, and I don't want to spoil it for people, but I will anyway.
It's been out for 3 weeks. Everybody's seen it.
So where she comes back and she slams through the spaceship with her mighty force, and stops all the guns from firing and everything like that, and then they give her the fist of rocks. And
that's what it's called.
The gem glove or whatever it is. And they say, and then all the superheroes goes, okay, we'll protect you. It's like, she just zapped all the way through a spaceship. She doesn't need your help, pal. But they're all like, we'll help you. We'll open up a force field and you can go all the way to wherever you need to go to. It's like, she didn't need that, man. All she do is grab the glove and go straight up again, and nobody's going to catch her. It's like there's a little bit of logic there, but yet she decided to go along with them and made it a very challenging mission.
But once again, you got ladies saving the day at the end of the movie. It was like her and like the warrior chicks from Wakanda and Scarlet Witch and the lady with the antennas and like they're like Nebula and Gamora. Like at the end, they're all like. Rrr.
That was so completely obvious what they were doing. It was like they lost me. It was like, okay, I get it. Yes, empower women. Yes, like I guess and I don't want people to take that the wrong way. I'm not being critical of that element, but it was just so over the top. It was like, come on, really? And they're all standing there, and and that was when the Gwyneth Paltrow moment came, and she came in and her mask went off a little bit for the Iron Man thing. I was like, wait a minute, Gwyneth Paltrow is Iron Man? I thought where's Robert Downey Jr.? I was just confused by the whole thing.
Well, at that point, there really wasn't anybody left but the ladies, anyways, because at that point, like Iron Man and Thor and Captain America had all battled Thanos and were kind of defeated.
They were wrung out a little bit, yeah.
Yeah, and Hulk was busy holding up like the Avengers HQ, which was about to collapse in on itself, and Doctor Strange was keeping like Niagara Falls from like.
But it didn't look like he was really doing anything. It just looked like he was standing there with his hands up. Like at least they could have done is had like a vein on his forehead or something like that,
popping out.
Yeah, right. But all he was doing was standing there with his goatee, and was like, "Oh yeah, Benedict Cumberbatch, what are you doing?" Like just looking.
Which was also an alternate baby name for the royal couple.
Well, I think we should keep going back to that alternate baby name podcast because that's one of the funniest ones we've done. What was Vegemite's last name?
Cornwall Vegemite.
Cornwall Vegemite.
Yeah.
Which is
Master Corny.
And that would satisfy the royal subjects in Australia, of course.
That's true because perhaps when the Queen dies, Australia is going to be like, "Yeah, we're good. We don't want to be part of the Commonwealth anymore.
We're not back in. We're not back. Yeah, we're fine.
We're out."
So we talked about Captain Marvel being a message movie. What was the message in this movie? Avengers Endgame.
That it's the end of the first phase of the MCU. Why? What do you think the message was?
Oh, I don't think there was a message.
Okay.
I just wanted to see if there was maybe you thought there was a message that I missed.
Well, speaking of, I also did like the initial like credit part where the 6 or so original Avengers, like they each got their own little, like they got their signature.
Oh yeah, I noticed that.
Like that was like so weird. I was like, I wasn't expecting that.
Well, as we're watching the credits and I'm watching all these amazing Hollywood names that have been in this franchise, like every known actor, short of maybe Russell Crowe, has been in this movie, in this franchise. And then we're watching the signature ones, and Robert Downey Jr. signing his name, and Jeremy Renner, and everybody, Scarlett Johansson. By the way, do they call Scarlett Johansson? Do they call her ScarJo?
Yes, that was when I was gossip blogging. I frequently used ScarJo.
So that would be a name you think you wouldn't want if you're an actress, because of the whole plastic surgery thing.
Oh, okay.
Like that.
No.
But anyway, so when all that was going on, this was reinforced during the course of the movie. Obviously, when somebody would pop up, it's like, oh hey, there's an Academy Award nominated person, and they were doing all these amazing things. But at the end, when all the credits roll and you see all these names of all these people that have done so many amazing things, and it's really brilliant by Marvel/Disney to like they could have just gotten any cast of clowns together, right, and
totally.
made these movies because. People are going to go see them.
Right. Like,
and the
anytime a Marvel movie comes out, just take my money, Disney.
Well, and the action is so amazing. And the action is the star, right? That's the main reason people go to these movies, is it CGI and the explosions and Thanos and all these kinds of things that don't look like anything in the world that have to be fabricated. So the acting is sort of secondary. And yet they have Robert Downey Jr., who's great. They have Scarlett Johansson, who's great. They have... Jeremy Renner, who's great. I mean, they have all these actors, and I was really impressed. I have been, and I was again, by the way that came together and the way that they all seem to share the screen. I don't know what's going on behind the scenes. I don't have any sort of insight on that, but I did notice that Jeremy Renner had a lot of significant screen time by himself.
Yeah, he really hasn't had a whole lot of... Like in the first Avengers movie, he was basically a non-factor.
Which he's Hawkeye, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So he opened the movie. He and his family opened the movie. And I didn't really think, like, he's not really one of those superpower guys, right? Like he's kind of he's kind of like a mortal with a really good skill, right?
Yeah. Yeah, he's kind of a lame superhero
when
you think about it.
Right. But yet he's in with all these guys. So I thought that was pretty impressive. And the same thing with Captain America. Like Captain America is not really, he doesn't have any superpowers other than he's frozen in time, right? And then thawed.
Well, they
he doesn't know what a telephone is.
He gave him roids in like the 40s to battle the Nazis. So he's...
Really?
Yeah.
Hemorrhoids?
So we're going to have to watch the Captain America movies, is what you're telling me.
No, no, we're not. I'm not saying what I'm saying at all.
Captain America Civil War is still my favorite Marvel movie.
I
would put this at number 2.
So here's the next step. So this is a 2-part question for you, Coco.
Okay.
First of all, what should they do now with the Marvel Universe? And second, when are we going to see Captain Canuck in one of these movies?
You got yoga hosers. So what are you... What do you... I mean, they're your superheroes right there. They're battling like little sausage Nazis.
If that's our superhero movie, then I want a do-over. That was the worst. So anyway, where's the Marvel Universe going from here with all these characters?
See, I'm sure in the research notes somewhere it says what Phase 2 is, but There we go. Daltz is busily
I'm
looking
trying to
at
help
our
you out
research
here.
notes. But I'm not entirely sure. Like, I do know, because Scarlett Johansson, Black Widow, she has... ScarJo. She has another movie with Marvel, but obviously now it's an origin story.
Well, we don't want to say too much about why we think that.
Right. And, like, I think all the Black Panther cast is signed.
Oh, they're going to be back for another
And Guardians
movie.
of the Galaxy 3 is coming out, but I'm like, how are they gonna... I mean... in 10 years, are they going to be doing like another like phase 2 Endgame movie? Like, how are they going to build back up this stable when you've got, ScarJo is done, Hemsworth is done, Evans is done, Downey is done, Hiddleston's not coming back. Like,
Josh Brolin
is, Scrotum Chin is dust. Dust in the wind.
Dust in the wind. Aren't we all dust in the wind?
Who did that song back in the 70s?
That was Casey and the Sunshine Band.
That was not Casey and the Sunshine Band. You shut your mouth. So, well,
so what do you think is going to happen with the Avengers?
So I don't.
Why don't you guess? Like, just I want your informed speculation.
I don't know. I think.
What would you like to see happen?
Well, so I don't know. I mean, Falcon is maybe going to be Captain America now because Steve.
Oh, is that who that guy was?
Yes.
Yeah.
Steve Rogers gave him his Kansas. That's who sings "Dust in the Wind."
Look at you, multitasking. Oh no, actually, it was the engineer who held up a placard.
Yeah, he wrote Kansas in Sharpie on like a lined sheet of paper and like smacked it against like the studio wall.
That's exactly what he did.
So, yeah. So I mean, now Falcon is the new Captain America, not Bucky Barnes, which had been speculated, which I was maybe not happy about. So, but we've got a new Captain America. We've still got Doctor Strange. We've got Black Panther.
So, by the way,
got
Captain
Spider-Man.
America will be black then.
Yeah, which I'm sure the racists will go nuts about, because the racists also went nuts when Heimdall in Thor was black. And
let's not go there because we have nothing to add to that conversation.
No, we don't. That's if you're gonna get your panties in a bunch about black people in a comic book movie, then
you got bigger problems.
Yeah.
But that was another thing that I had a problem with this movie, and I seem to know the characters pretty well, but I was losing track. I was like, okay, who's that guy?
Well, your problem also is that you didn't see some of the previous movies, like you didn't see Doctor Strange.
But I saw the last one. I saw the last Avengers movie.
Yeah.
So you'd think that would be good enough to qualify me to follow along. Like the guy with the gun, the shooter guy. I don't know who he was.
Which guy was that?
He was the long-haired guy at the end who, when Captain America handed the shield over to Hawkeye, or not Hawkeye. What was his
Falcon.
name? Falcon. I'm getting my birds mixed up. When he passes the gauntlet, so to speak, and he was the guy standing there going, "Hey, thumbs up." Assassin guy or something.
Yeah,
like that.
yeah, that's Bucky Barnes.
Is that his character name or is that his actor name?
That's his character name.
So Bucky Barnes
he's the Winter Soldier.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So you think the Winter Soldier would be like an Inuit or something like that?
No, he's just another guy from Brooklyn.
Right.
Like Steve
He
Rogers.
didn't look like a winter guy at all to me.
No. Well,
and he was in like 4 scenes in this movie.
Yeah, but he was hardcore in Captain America: The Winter Soldier.
Oh, was he really?
Which is why we need to watch all the Captain America movies.
We do we?
We totally do.
All right.
Maybe we'll do that in Vermont next weekend. If it's raining like it is today. And
I can think of other things we should do.
We ain't got nothing to do but drink and watch Captain
Let's not talk about our vacation plans on the podcast. Okay. Because somebody might know where we live.
Okay, so you want to know a problem I had with the movie?
Oh, yes, I do.
Okay. So at the very, very beginning, when Iron Man and Nebula get rescued and brought back to Earth.
Spoiler.
Not remotely a spoiler. For the love of dog.
Oh, we should talk about spoilers. Okay, go ahead.
So, and Iron Man's sitting there with like his IV.
Because
he
and he looked
died.
Pretty emaciated too.
He looked really emaciated, but also he did like this drunken, like De Niro impersonation, and like that's what it seemed like to me. Like,
you think that was his Academy Award clip?
That's like his clip, like RDJ, like for your consideration, like from Avengers Endgame. He couldn't
with a bag of swag to all the.
He couldn't win for Chaplin, so
he's gonna get it for
he's gonna,
Avengers Endgame
when he's impersonating De Niro,
right?
Like every bad De Niro shtick that every undergrad theater major like goes for. So that was a little. But at the same time, I understand where the character is coming from.
Oh, I got it.
I just, maybe the characterization was like a bit OTT for me.
I was in at that point in the movie. I thought that
that was like 5 minutes in.
Yeah, it was 5 minutes in. And I mean, I was in on it because I was like, oh yeah, that would be how I would react if I thought I was going to die. And then, but I didn't get the whole Captain America, Iron Man. I know they've got this
Captain America Civil War.
I know they've
got
got this conflict from way back, and they've got this bad blood. I get all that, but it's not like Captain America was like down on the beach, reading National Geographic or something like that.
Right, like drinking margs and nailing groupies.
While the world is coming down, like, you were a liar and you weren't there when I needed you and all this sort of stuff. And meanwhile, the Captain America's like, dude, I'm like, I wasn't very good at it, man. Like,
right, like we
cut me some
all
slack.
fail.
Like half of us are not here.
Right, totally.
So I didn't buy that part of it. I was like, that's a little harsh. Like, it just seemed like it was. I liked the acting as opposed to you thought it was over the top. But I just thought the motivation was like, where is this coming from? We just need an explosive scene at the beginning of the movie to reintroduce some conflict. It didn't seem justified to me.
Yeah.
So that's where I am on that.
But he did also, almost die of oxygen deprivation.
Right, and he thought he was dying, and he was out in space in the middle of nowhere and far from. I don't understand. Like, we could have saved 3 hours if Captain Marvel could have just spent more than 20 minutes in the movie. Right. I think if Captain Marvel had been there from the beginning and then saw it to its conclusion. Like, rather than, okay, I'm just going to drop in here and do this little bit of work, and then you guys can clean it up, and I'm going to go save another part of the universe. She should have just finished the job. Yeah. So this, to me, speaks to... this is a message movie to me, is don't leave any chore unfinished.
Now, I know that's directed at me. I know that is so directed at me.
It wasn't, actually. It wasn't at all. But if you want to take it that way, you can.
Let's just say Daltz is much more fastidious about housework than Coco is.
That's one way to look at it.
Do you see roaches running around? No. So
because I'm fastidious. So, what do we say about this movie? What's our final verdict on this movie?
Yeah, I give it an A.
You give it an A?
I would totally go watch it again.
So, Infinity War was what? B+? A-?
Yeah, somewhere in the B to low A range.
I would give whatever I gave Infinity War, I would give this movie.
Okay.
So B+, I don't know.
Yeah,
It
sure.
seemed like the same movie to me. Mm. So we're done with the Avengers.
This iteration of take a shot, Daltz's friend who takes a shot when we do big.
I don't think they listen to the podcast anymore.
WTF.
I don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I freaking loved it. I would totally go see it again.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. And so we don't know, like, the next movie is probably Spider-Man or something?
Yeah, Spider-Man. The next movie is coming out this summer, so is Peter Parker now are all the movies going forward 5 years ahead of us now? Because...
Yeah, confusing.
There was, like, time travel in the movie, so... Peter Parker was in high school in the last movie, so now is he basically going to be like in grad school because we jumped 5 years ahead? Like, I don't understand like what's going on.
There's probably going to be some suspension of disbelief required,
which I know is really difficult with comic book movies.
Right.
So
right. They're very factually based.
And especially when you're talking about time travel movies, like, Ant-Man could not believe that Back to the Future was just a bunch of BS, according to the laws of, like, quantum physics.
That was interesting the way they did that in the movie. They explained away time travel. Like, all the other movies that have ever been made are wrong. But this one is the right one. Like, does anybody know anything about time travel?
Right. Yeah, exactly. And then wouldn't things have not worked out the way they did if Steve Rogers went back to the 40s and then he lived his whole life with Agent Carter and now he's an old man in 2023 or 2019 or wherever the heck we ended that movie. So that should have played with the time-space continuum as well. You would think.
But they said that in the movie. They said you can change, and that was a confusing part of it when they said, you can change the past, but it changes your future for that past. It doesn't change the future for this present. And they explained it away so quickly that I went to turn to ask you, like, what did they say? Because I think that was a key plot development. And then I just got swept away in the CGI action from there, and I forgot to ask you.
We're not supposed to question it.
Right.
It's, like Gwyneth Paltrow in the Vag steam suit. Like, we're just not supposed to question it.
Oh, dear. So maybe we should go out on that note.
Well, do you have any other thoughts about anything?
No.
No.
No, I think I've pretty much vented my spleen on this movie.
You're like, we are never going to another comic book movie ever again.
Well, if I were to, if somebody were to ask me, for one of those quotes that they put on the movie poster,
What they shouldn't.
no, but I think they should, because I'm not connected to Hollywood at all. I don't care. I'm giving them their honest truth. I will say, it's no Shazam. That's what I'm going to say.
Because it's better than Shazam?
Because we saw 15 minutes of Shazam, and it was the last 15 minutes.
What did we also see before? Oh, Captain Marvel. We saw Captain Marvel right before Shazam.
Right.
And we mixed up the movie times. And
I don't know about we. I think it was me. You were just going along for the ride.
No, because I tried to get us into a different theater today, too, because I thought she said Theater 8, but it was Theater 1. So I'm just as confused and doddering as you are.
Well, I'm just leading you around because you didn't have your glasses on.
Well, yeah, that is pretty true.
So thanks for tuning in for another edition of Coco and Daltz. This was the Avengers Endgame episode that everyone will be listening to. And if you get this far, thank you very much. So for another week, I'm not Coco.
And I'm not Daltz.